Last time we stopped at the terms CFR and CIF. We knew the location of the risk responsibility changes once the cargo is on the deck of a vessel when using CFR and CIF. Alternatively, the location of risk responsibility changes at exporting CY, container yard, and CFS, container freight station, when using CPT and CIP. So today, we will go on discussing Incoterms and starting from CPT and CIP. CPT, carriage paid to. The seller delivers the goods to the carrier or another person nominated by the seller at an agreed place, if any such place is agreed between parties, and that the seller must contract for and pay the cost of carriage necessary to bring the goods to the named place of destination. The goods are considered to be delivered when the goods have been handed over to the first or main carrier, so that the risk transfers to buyer upon handling goods over to that carrier at the place of shipment in the country of export. CPT is often used in air freight, containerized ocean freight, small parcel shipments, and the rural shipments of vehicles. It is advised to mention the destination place as clearly as possible in the contract of sale. Unless otherwise agreed, unloading at the named place of destination will be on the seller's account. CIP, carriage and insurance paid to. CIP functions the same as CPT, is a step further and includes insurance. The seller also contracts for insurance cover against the buyer's risk of loss of or damage to the goods during the carriage. The buyer should note that under CIP, the seller is required to obtain insurance only on minimum cover. Should the buyer wish to have more insurance protection, it will need either to agree as much expressly with the seller or to make its own extra insurance arrangements. CIP and CIF are the two terms that define risk and insurance separately. As in the case of CFR and CIF, I in the CIP stands for insurance, which in turn means CPT does not include insurance. In this instance, all you need to remember is that I will always stand for insurance. These are the Group C rules. You have to remember, under C group terms, the transfer of risk and the cost from seller to buyer occur at different points. Group D rules can be used for any mode or modes of transportation. DAP, delivered at a place. In DAP term, the seller delivers when the goods are placed at the disposal of the buyer and the arriving means of transport ready for unloading at the named place of destination. The risk passes from seller to buyer from the point of destination mentioned in the contract of delivery. After that, the buyer will take responsibility for unloading the goods. All risks associated with the goods until they are delivered to the buyer's destination are assumed by the seller, who will bear all risks involved up to unloading. The buyer needs to pay for goods clearance and the customs fees as well as the cost of unloading goods at their destination. This term minimized the risk of the seller to deliver goods to the first port of entry unloaded. It is important for the seller and the buyer to agree on the place of delivery as clearly as possible. DPU, delivered at the place unloaded. DPU is a new term for Incoterms 2020. The seller delivers the goods unloaded at the named place of destination. The seller bears all the costs of transport, export fees, carriage, unloading from main carrier at the destination port and the destination port charges, and all risk until arrival at the named place of destination. While this can happen in any mode of transportation, unloading the goods can happen at the port terminals, warehouse, or transshipment point. DDP, delivered duty paid. DDP is by far the most famous one used by the buyers because it will put all the risk on the seller. It is also called a door-to-door delivery. The seller bears all the costs and risks involved in bringing the goods to the place of destination, including clearance the goods through customs in the buyer's country, both paying the duties and taxes, and obtaining the necessary authorizations and registrations from the authorities in that country. DDP represents the maximum risk for the seller, while the buyer has very minimal responsibility. But the seller does not pay for unloading the goods. The term is used under the assumption that the seller is capable of clear customs at the destination. Now, you have had a brief guide to what each Incoterm entails. From this infographic, we could recall what we've got about Incoterms 2020. There are 4 freight collector terms: XW, FCA, FAS, FOB, and 7 freight prepaid terms: CFR, CIF, CPT, CIP, DAP, DPU, DDP. What you need to know is that freight collect and freight prepaid are used by giving references on the transport documents, and they only tell us by whom the freight charges will be paid. When stated on a transport document, freight collect indicates that the receiver will pay the freight charges upon delivery or at the destination. In reality, charges will be collected before delivery of the cargo at the destination. Usually, buyer pays in this case. When stated on a transport document, freight prepaid indicates that the shipper will pay the freight charges at the time of carriage before the shipment gets loaded for shipment took place. Usually, seller pays in this case. There are 7 terms applicable for any mode or modes of transport: EXW, FCA, CPT, CIP, DAP, DPU, DDP, and 4 terms for sea and inland waterway transport: FAS, FOB, CFR, and CIF. As you may have noticed, all Incoterms intended for intermodal transport can be used for containerized cargo. There are 4 groups. The Incoterms are divided into 4 principal categories: Group E, departure; Group F, main carriage unpaid; Group C, main carriage paid; and Group D, arrival. Based on the first letter of each term and classified according to the fees, risk, responsibility for formalities, as well as issues related to import and export. With this classification, you will be more aware of the Incoterms 2020. Please keep in mind that Incoterms intend to define various obligations between buyer and seller related to customs clearance, licensing, packaging, and other areas. They also define the delivery place, the point of risk transfer, and the cost allocation. But they don't define point of revenue recognition, the resolution processes, and the title transfer. There is no best term in general, but each of them is better suited for a certain situation. What you need is to choose the one that better suits you. So in any sales transaction, it is important for the seller and the buyer to agree on the terms of sale and know precisely what is included in the sales price. Well, that's the end for today. See you later.